Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Raul. I figured since I do some restorations, and I've got a couple here, for example, I would show you what I do to strip the paint off of some of these and what I use. My number one go-to right here is Super Clean. I picked this up at Walmart. I believe it's like $6 for the whole gallon. It does tend to last quite a bit. It used to be called Castro Super Clean. A lot of people call it Purple Power or Purple Dip, but that's the particular brand that I really like. It does a really good job, but it is pretty caustic. Wear gloves. It will get to your fingers and dry your fingers out. It gets a little itchy. So I wear gloves or try not to get my hands in it too much, because it is a degreaser. It's a real strong degreaser, and but it works great. I've also used 91% alcohol. It really depends on what paint I'm trying to strip. But for a couple examples here, here's a Johann Olds 442. This is a 71. This is one of the ones I will be restoring. It's painted really nice. I think it's aerosol paint. It may be airbrushed. I'm really not sure. But this is how I bought it. And I will take this one apart and restore it eventually. And I'll even use this stuff to strip the chrome. Chrome on this one is pretty nice, a little dull. So I'll end up stripping the bumpers and the wheels and re-chroming them. But I don't have a whole lot of plans for this particular one right now. But it's one of the ones I have in my stash to restore. What I'm also very excited about is this one right here. Showed it in one of my other videos. This is a resin Baldwin Motion Corvette Phase 3 GT, and it's painted in some lacquer. But it's resin, so you got to be careful with resin. But I always start with this one. Some of the parts were painted, so I soaked the mirrors first to see how they reacted, and it took a couple hours, but the paint came off. So I wanted to play it safe. And then I've had really good luck with this stuff when it comes to stripping resin. So to test it, I did the hood, and the hood soaked. I mean, you can see it here. This is now raw resin. It was painted like the rest of the Corvette, and it took a couple hours. I didn't leave it in. I left it in there for like an hour the first time, and it took all the primer off the bottom side, and it was attacking the paint on the upper side. And then, I use a medium strength toothbrush, and then I'll brush it, get in the areas, and scrub it off, and let the paint peel off, and put it back in, and left it for another hour, more like a half an hour, checked on it, scrubbed more of it, but it was not affecting the resin at all on this particular one. Sometimes it'll make it soft, so it takes some experience of getting used to, but it works really well. Now I'll be doing this body next, letting that go in there and soak. But like with a plastic mono body, you can leave it overnight and the plastic won't be affected by this stuff, which is great. But resin, you got to be careful. I've had some where it attacked the resin or etched the resin or made some of the thin areas kind of gummy, where it just starts to soften it a little bit. So when it comes to resin, just be very careful with it. And then I get a nice container. This is a Rubbermaid container that seals. I've got some in there right now. But make sure it's a good size and that the body fits in there. And then I'll put it in there, and I'll fill this all the way up to where it covers the roof. Some of them I've had where they don't quite fit, where I'll have to do a little bit, tip one side, tip the other side, or even put it in upside down just to get the rest of it. But do this outside if you don't have a lid, but it lasts longer with the lid. So I keep the lid on it, keeps it sealed and fresh. The paint does tend to settle at the bottom here, so you can see the paint at the bottom there, and it dirties up. But you can use it multiple times. But just some tips and tricks there on what I do. I will continue stripping this one, but if any of you guys do restorations, or if you even mess up a paint job and you want to know how to strip it, this is my first go-to, is Castrol Super Clean. I did have one, I'll never forget it. It was I still have the model, I haven't built it, but it's a 67 Barracuda AMT kit. It was blue, and I have photos of it. And I stripped it in Castrol Super Clean. It took the first layer of paint off of it, but the second layer was either gold or silver. I think it was gold, like this, and it didn't touch that paint at all. But I put in, changed this out to 91% rubbing alcohol, which takes 2 containers, and it costs twice as much as this does, and you get half as much fluid. But it took that silver or gold paint off right away. It was unbelievable. I think I have some photos of that one, so I might add them to this particular video. But it worked out really well, and matter of fact, it didn't even look painted because it wasn't sanded on. So that one came out like super clean, and ironically it's in my stash to be built, and I have not decided what color to build that one yet. So it's ready to build, that particular 67 Barracuda. But I'll be dipping this one and letting it strip and going back to more of this. But I figured I would do a quick little video on how I strip the paint off of these and get them back to this. I just a little dumbfounded that this came out this clean. Like, it just came out of the mold and there's no paint on it, and it looks like it's never been painted. This is unusual. It does happen, but it is unusual. I get a number of them where the paint comes off, but there's still some tinting and shading, and I prime them anyway, so it's not really a big deal. But that's some of that. And again, thank you for viewing in. Please leave your comments and subscribe if you like. I'll have more tips and tricks like this, and whatever I can think of that might help anybody in model building, I'll share it. Thank you again.